My name is Yusuf. Welcome to the music channel. Today we're going to be talking all about bar chords. What are they? How do you play them? Why do they hurt so much on your hand? First of all, what is a bar chord? In guitar playing, a bar is when you take any finger and you play it over more than one string. So that's a bar. I'm playing the B and E string. That's a bar. That's not a bar. That's a bar. Or I could bar with this finger. So that's the idea. A bar is when you're using one finger to play more than one string. If you look in any beginner's how to play guitar book, they're going to show you F chord, a guitar F chord. And they're going to show you probably the watered down version first. You can start by playing a half bar. So you'll take that first finger, stretch it over the bottom two strings, and you'll play an F chord like that. And hopefully your F chord will be in tune, just like that. Whenever you play a bar chord, you want to have the strings ring out. You want to arpeggiate so that you can hear, because your bar chord probably won't sound like that at first. It'll sound more like this. You know, so you just press as hard as you can until you can at least get. If that might be as far as you get in the first. You know, it's gonna take a while before you get it clean. Like, so that's the basic half bar chord. That's the cheat. The real bar chord, or the full, is like that. So when people talk about bar chords, usually what they're referring to is barring the entire fretboard. So that would be a bar at the first fret. So that's just like basically taking your open strings and moving it up one fret. It doesn't sound really like anything. So that's the most basic idea of what a bar is. And we start with the half bar to build up strength in that finger, because it takes a lot of hand strength. As you see, when I play this bar, it looks like I'm playing straight down, but that took many years. And when you start, you want to kind of get it on the side of the finger there. You really just, it's like a Vulcan death grip. You want to you grip it as hard as you can. It just takes months and years to get the requisite hand strength to be able to do that cleanly without thinking about it. It just takes time. Guitar is a painful instrument the first year. It's very painful. Use a lot of ice and just give yourself days off, because everybody's hand cramps at first. Mine did for the first year or two of playing. Believe it or not, this is actually the hardest bar chord. Once you can play this one, the F, you're done. So how do we come up with that, and why are bar chords useful, and what's the point of all this? Well, the idea is, you might have learned some basic open chords. You have C, G, D, A, E, and some of them might A minor, E minor, okay? That can get a little vanilla, can get a little plain and boring, right? If everything you do is down on the open position or first position, it can get a little cheesy. So we use bar chords so that instead of playing A here, we could play A here, or we could play it here. Instead of playing D here, we could play it here, or maybe here. Give different tonality and different colors and variations. Let's take a basic E chord. I like to start with minor chord because it's easier. Starting with the major chord, it's just more fingers, it takes more hand strength. Start with an E minor chord. Almost anybody who's played the beginning of guitar has played this chord. Simple chord, right? Well, how do you play this as a bar? The idea is simple, and you're going to do this for every single bar chord we do. It's the same kind of idea. We lift up the index finger, because the index finger is what's going to bar behind there, right? And then we're just going to replace where that index finger was. We're just going to switch it out, either like this, or I tend to do it like this. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. And then we're going to move the whole situation up a fret. And then we put our bar down. So what we just effectively did was, that was our E minor. Now this is our F minor. And you hear how it's the same. It's the same shape, you see. Now we can just move that shape up the neck. And that's how we play bar chords. Or we could do that idea for almost every chord. Now that we know F minor, we also know G minor, depending on, so that's why you really want to learn these notes down on the low E string. We also know A minor, so that's A minor, that's an A minor, B minor, C minor, which is, okay? And so we know every minor chord in that shape, in the E shape. If we want to do the major, it's the same thing. We take our E major, okay? we're going to lift up that index finger and switch it around, and we play E. Instead of playing E with the first 3 fingers, we play it with fingers 2, 3, and 4, so that this finger is free to bar. It's the same philosophy every time. Then we move it up 1, and that's kind of an interesting chord with the open strings, and then we just put that bar down, and that's how we create our F. E, F. And now we have every major chord up and down the fretboard, and it's a good exercise to practice these chromatically. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, or you could talk in flats, you know, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then back at E. And when you're learning these, I really recommend trying to start up here, because this F chord for you, if you're just starting playing bar chords, your guitar F chord is probably going to be more like this. You know, it's going to have a lot of muted strings because you're not going to have the strength to push down as hard. So that's why if you play up higher, it's easier. There's the frets are narrower together, and you have to use less hand strength to create the same tension to get the chord to ring out cleanly. Oh, see, I had a muted one there. Right? And so you want to do that all the way down. All the way back. I won't bore you. I won't do the whole thing. But you get the idea. This is how you practice. It just takes raw physical strength in that. You see the marks in my finger. You'll get a callus all on this finger. If you're a guitar player and you don't have a callus all on your left index finger, you're not really a guitar player. The next one you would learn would be taking an A chord. And so it's the same idea. You take that index finger off of the A chord. I tend to play an A bar chord, and so I would bar it like that. Anyways, I'll show you that in a second. But you take that off. That's kind of a nice chord. And now you switch, you replace it. So instead of playing A like that, you're playing A like so. And then you just move the whole thing up and put your bar down. And this time you don't have to actually bar down to the low E. You can just bar the A string, but I tend to do the whole thing. So that's our B flat. That's one way to do this, and a lot of people do that. I tend to get out of the habit of doing that, but just because it's better to play a chord with 2 fingers instead of 4 if you can. So a lot of people will tend to play this bar chord like that, and that takes some strength in this finger. So now you have a double bar going on. You have this index finger is barring the A string to the high E string, and then you have your ring finger is actually barring the middle 3. But you'll find that that is a much more useful way to play these bar chords, the A-based ones. This is C, for example. So if I play C like this, if I wanted to do a sus4 there, that's kind of, you know, annoying. I can do a lot more. My pinky is a lot more free if I have a double bar going on. Or this. If I want to use the middle finger, I can too, because it's free. And the same thing, play that up and down this fretboard. C, D, E, F, G, back to A. You can do the same thing with A minor. You guessed it. So there's A minor. What are we going to do? Same thing. Lift up the index finger. It's a nice chord, suspended chord. And then just switch it. That was A minor the way you probably learned it. This is your new A minor. Move it up a fret and bar. Now we have B flat minor or A sharp minor depending. B minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, F minor, G minor. Same thing. Okay, so now we have every major chord and every minor chord up and down the fretboard in 2 different shapes. Why? What's the point of that? You might ask. Why can't I just play my, why can't I just play my A minor and E minor like that? Well, it gives you a different sound. If you play A minor, E minor like this, that gives you one vibe. But if you play like this, that gives you a different vibe. Even though it's the same chords, the notes are actually arranged in a different pattern because of the chord structure you're using. And on top of that, the timbre of the string you're playing is going to change, because if you're playing higher on a string, or if you're playing the third of the chord on the A string versus the third of the chord on the B string, the tone quality of the strings is going to sound different. Basic minor chord progression at the 5th position versus, that might give you different melody ideas if you're a songwriter or you're a soloist. So it's going to give you different ideas, and just it's going to open up your whole world. And also another reason that you might want to do this is because it's not very easy to play flat chords in open positions. It's easy to play in sharp keys, but you know, if you want to play B flat, good luck. You got to do something like that, bar chord. If you want to play E flat, you're gonna, let's show you that one in a second too. That's a different one. The E based and the A based, majors and minors, those are the most basic bar chords that you'll learn in any beginner class or book. Let me show you a few different bar chords that can spice things up a little once you've mastered those. One of the main ones is a C. I like to take a C, and believe it or not, you can play C without the index finger. It's a little annoying, but see, I'm playing C without my index finger. And then the same thing. Now I've got a C sharp. And there's a D. There's an E. And now there's an F. That was F. And now that's F. And you hear how it's a different quality of F. Right? This one is a little deeper, richer. This one is a little... Even though they're both F major in root position. So you can do it with G. And playing G like this in open, I suggest playing your G like this all the time, because simply you can switch between other chords faster. If you're going C to G, that's kind of cumbersome, versus even G to D. It's quicker than, it's easier to do it with the other three fingers. And then you can, this finger is also then free to kind of hammer on and do little, you know, do other little melodic fills and things. It gives you more flexibility. This is my philosophy. If you can play a chord with 2 fingers or 3, why would you use 4? But we can do that same idea with the G chord. We can switch it up and then just move it up. And now we have a G sharp, we have a A. I've got some muteds in it. I wouldn't really recommend playing chords. You don't want to play too many G-shaped bar chords in your life, but there's C at 5th position. Just want to show you what's possible. That's a C. That's a very different C than, because we get that root in the melody there. We get that C on high. Here we get a third in the melody, the E. So they have very, very different sounds. We've reached the point of no return when every guitarist reaches for the guitar capo. Instead of playing in the G-shaped bar position, I would really recommend using a capo for something like that. A capo is basically a cheat. It's basically replacing this finger. The trade-off is, once you put that bar there, it's fixed. Unless you take it off, you know, I don't have access to play any notes down here on the fretboard. I can only play above the capo. So that's the trade-off of using a capo. But it's a really great tool, and every guitarist ought to have one. It lets you take a kind of a plain vanilla chord progression and really spice it up with different shapes without killing your index finger and your wrist. If I took a basic 1-4-5 progression in the key of C, you know, C, F, G, ba 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 ba, you know, you've heard it, every song uses that, right? What if we play it with a capo? What if we play it in a different position with this bar chord theory that we've learned now? Same chords, very different kind of sound. Right? Very, very drastically different. What if I do it here? I do it A-based C. So that's a C. Now I have an A-based C. Okay. There's my 1-4-5. This gives you different flavors to your chords. You can take a basic chord progression in a boring key and make it a little spicy by adding this capo, which replaces that bar finger. Playing bar chords is one of the most challenging parts of becoming a guitar player. It's the point at which most people quit. And actually, I did quit. The first year I learned guitar, I saw that F chord and I said, no way. And I just couldn't do it, and I couldn't change between chords fast enough. And just trust me, don't give up on it. Just practice a little every day, 15 minutes, 20 minutes every day. And don't push it too much. You know, if your hand cramps up, take a day off and hit it the next day after that. but keep on it, stay persistent with your practicing. And if you have any questions or comments and you need help, or you want to know how to do this or that, let me know in the comments below. If you've been playing guitar for a while, what do you think about bar chords? Personally, I try to avoid them like plague because they hurt, and I try to always use, the easiest method possible. But sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes you have songs in flat keys, for example. You have to play bar chords. Let me know what you think in the comments about that. When do you use bar chords? Are there any other bar chords I left out? For example, if I'm playing this progression in the key of F, there's no way around it. There's no way around that B flat. There's really no way to play that easily. I can play it up here, but it's still a bar chord. For example, the key of A flat. There's no way around it. I'm using a few different ones there. See, I'm doing an E bass there. Now I'm doing an A bass. Back to the E bass. Now I'm doing the C bass. See? So I'm playing the 1 chord, A flat, the 4 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord. That's one of the things bar chords let you do. Instead of having to shift up to the 5, I can play the bar chord behind it. Play the 5 there. So this really opens up your world and lets you use whole new sonic palettes in your chords. If you have any comments or questions, let me know below in the comments. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. Until next time.